All right, I hope you guys are doing great. I'm doing great, and I just want to give you guys a preview of the API thing that I've been building, and we're going to be going over in class. This API thing has been released under the MIT license, so you feel free to use it in all your projects. We're going to be going over roles really briefly. Encoders are basically the way that we encrypt passwords. Providers, and those basically allow us to get users either from a database or another source. Then we have one provider right here, which gets it from our entity or gets it from our database, and it uses the email property and the password property to validate the user. And then we have a custom one right here, which uses a token. So the first thing you'll do is you'll log into this token check with a post of underscore username and underscore password. Those will be your post variables, and you'll be redirected on success to to a to a page that will generate a token for you. And from that point forward, you'll log into the API, which is what this security wall is, and you will with that token, and it will authenticate you. So it does that basically through the success handler if you're valid. So if you're valid, you'll go into the success handler code, which is right here. I've actually got this as a bundle. So we go here and we go to the Noah Glazer bundle, and we go to token auth. This is really cool stuff. It took me forever to figure this out. And we go to security and login success handler. What you'll see is that if the role user is granted, take the client key. That's basically a get variable on the URL. The client key basically represents whether it's a token that represents, when I say token, I just mean string, series of letters and numbers and other characters that represents whether you're logging in with a phone or whether you're doing it with an Android device or whatever. So you can have different clients. So I call it a client key. So it redirects them to this page with the client key in it. So I redirect them there, which is basically, if I go here, token auth, right here, and I use a service to save a token and generate the token. So this service returns back the token it generated and saves that to the database. And that service, just to show you guys, I'm really excited about this. I know I keep saying that, is, let's see, token generator right here. So you can kind of see I'm just scrambling up the token with SA512. So I'm using the username, the ID, the password, and the time. So I always get a unique token. And I'm just hashing that with the PHP hash, and I'm using SA512. Might not be the best encryption. We might have to revisit that later. But I encrypt it, I save it, and then I just return the token hash. And you can see I'm storing right here. This is like my client table. So we'll look at that. So you can kind of see that's the client key that I'm submitting, which represents the website, and then the token. And the tokens basically expire. So I've got a parameter that says they expire in X number of seconds. So the tokens have a lifespan, which is really, really cool. So from there, basically what I do is we go to the security YAML file, and you can see that every time they go through this app API, that the pattern basically means that's where the firewall starts, which basically means every request is going to have to go through this firewall, use this authenticator. And the authenticator is right here. I'll show it to you, not in the dependencies, but in the security API authentication. So I'm going to get that API key, which is just going to be in a get variable right here. And I'm going to authenticate based on that API key. And what am I doing so I'm implementing this as a service. So I'm injecting an API key provider, and I have this get username for API key, which should take me there. It's not. But basically what that will do is that will look up the token, find the token value, give me the username, and load the user. So that's basically what that firewall is doing. So it's a custom provider and a custom security handler to handle the token, and then I'll be logged in as that person. So that's security, really exciting stuff. And like I said, feel free to use this in your own projects. The other thing that's really awesome is we've got this API. And the way I decided to go about doing the API is, and what I've noticed in projects is that it's very important to protect the database. So I have these API objects. Right now, I just have two, a user and a user property. And these are not database objects. They're not connected to the database. They're just POCO objects. And I've got the validation on them. I've got the JS serializer on them. So I'm serializing them, and then I'm turning them with my mappers. I'm calling them mappers into database objects and transferring them to the database bundle. Um, we're also going to be going over Symfony's new voters as well. So I'm really excited about that. So you can see like much simpler voters. Way to go, guys, on the voters. That and voters in Symfony are it's basically like a security thing. Usually, you use them to make sure that the person editing the object owns the object. So you see object ID, which would be the user ID in this case, equals the user ID that's logged in, the user that's logged in. So very cool stuff there. So we're going to be going over all that and also how to generate like kick butt documentation. So you can see I got the Naomi documentation bundle, and we are using REST. So we're not being religious about REST, but we are using REST. So we'll be going over a little bit of REST too and some concepts. But this is how the documentation bundle looks like. Let me see if I can pull that up. It's not okay. Working. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right here. I'm going to come back, and then we're going to look at the actual documentation stuff. Really cool stuff, guys. And then we'll come back and we'll be done.